welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
2, 1, and the riders are away. Category 1 win. It's going to be a sprint for the Category 2 win today as well. And as we start to move into the final 1,500 metres, we are not seeing an attack come yet. At what point is this light fire going to be lit under this race? Now at a 35.6k race. They are in the last 700 metres of this race, and this is a large group. We are going to see a sprint here, but who is going to lead it out, and when is that lead going to come? We are in, and we are starting to see men's is here, but Watts might be higher, but they're not going through the roof yet as Bjornhead puts in 7.2. Van Hoolen hits 9 watts per kilo as we start to see this roll out with 400 metres to go. The fire has suddenly started under these Category 1 riders as Marion and Van Hoolen. Bjornhead's 12.4 watts per kilo as she starts to push, and she can't wait till that banner comes into sight as there's 100 metres to go and these riders are fighting it out. Van Hoolen kicks, Bjornhead kicks. Oh my goodness, that was so tight there in that racing.
So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, to the monthly race finale. We are at the end of August. We've seen some great racing in our qualifiers, and we're looking forward to the end of the month where we always have some great racing, because not only have we got our individual prizes, but we've got our team prizes as well. And the Sunday Race Club continues onwards with more and more riders and more new teams. Joining me throughout today's racing and for our women's race, I'm joined by Emma Martin. Hello, Emma.
Hi Matt, it's great to be with you today and to watch all the action today on the monthly final for August.
Indeed, and we've been watching the racing and we've got a great course. Take us through the course, Emma. Starts your department.
We do indeed have a great course today. So the women's race today will cover a distance of 35 kilometres with an elevation of 720 metres, and most of that climbing comes in our Category 2 climb today, which is at the end of the course. That Category 2 climb is 476 metres over a distance of 5.73 kilometres, and it's got an average gradient today of 8.2%, but that's deceptive, Matt, because actually it's a stepped climb, and we'll see some really steep segments going up to 11-12%. Some flat segments and even a little bit of rolling downhill on that climb. So it is really going to light the fire beneath this race today, that final climb at the end of that course. So
well, really interesting, isn't it, to see segments, of course, in the way through, 7 segments, and they are discrete segments. So it's measured from the start segment to the end. So it doesn't give us the overall positions as it came through, it gives us the times through. So great to see who is powering on and where. And of course, we've got some great competitors going to be taking on this course as well. Let's have a look at the teams. Category 1, Strong Girls, Fusion Squad, Spartan Obstacles, and Las Colombianas. The Fusion Squad, Emma. A little bit of a name change because these riders were together before previously, weren't they? And I think we've got a few riders come across from the Toyota CRT squad making their way over. But interesting, I think it's very, very strong here because you've got Bardaskaya, Bjarhead, Embring, and Donny in there. I think they're going to be very difficult to beat. But the big teams, realistically here, Spartan Obstacles generally win when they put their mind to it, and I'm sure that's going to be the case today. Watch out for Las Colombianas and the Strong Girls squad. Any particular picks in there in terms of riders, Emma? Given the course that we have, I wouldn't bet against Van Hoolen on this course, I have to say. I think she's very quick for the Spartan Obstacles, but could it be Chiara Donny's day?
Well, last time we were on this course, Matt, was qualifier 2 in August, and Bauer took it from Quevedo and Donny, but it was a really close race, and it was quite a slow and tactical race as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how the riders play this one today.
Definitely. Now, category 1, of course, our top riders. Category 2, the step below, we've got strong women, tri women, the team RT, team cycle fitness. But at the top, the whooshes team. Good to see the whooshes are back. That's what we want. And of course, the whooshes is a ride on MyWhoosh, and a perfect name for a team there, and some strong riders in there as well, Emma.
There are indeed, you know, in there. So it is a new team, I think, Matt, in terms of riding today.
Yeah, be interesting to see where they figure. Remember, 3 counters to qualify, and we've got 3 riders in there: Joy Miller, De Garcia, and Goodnari. Don't discount, though, pretty much any of these teams when it comes for victory. The strong women, well, they have been very, very strong of late. And of course, the winners in the previous final, the Team RT Cycle Zone second, but Tri Women squad, very, very tough as well. And where will we see the Whooshes team finish? Category 3, of course, is our starter category, which is where everybody starts off. Climber Girls, Team RT Ladies Cycle Zone, as well as Slam Bike Shop Team 2, and the Cycle Hub. Again, lots of strong riders in Category 3. And it's always great to see when we have the riders in Category 3 battling out for those prizes. And interestingly, mainly a team race in that competition today. Very few individual riders, as you would expect when we come into our finals. So it's going to be tough there. Whether it's going to be Geraldo and Barcia in the Climber Girls, they are always very, very strong. Will we see the Slam Bike Shop team figuring in there? The last winners in our last final were the Team RT Ladies, the team, the Cycle Zone Ladies team. I'm not sure that they could be beaten. I mean, you've got Maria Jose Sabala in there, you've got Poulton in there. Going to be tough to beat them. Not long to the start, and for us to find out. So, our riders in all 3 categories assembling down on the start line, and we are into those final 45 seconds. So, let's give you a quick rundown of what you're seeing if you're joining us for the first time on MyWhoosh. This is our riders down on the start line. In just over 30 seconds, they will head out onto the course. They'll be released from those turbo trainers and away down through the start arch and onto the course proper. Top left-hand side are the rider's stats, the watts, the revs, the heart rate. Top right-hand side of the course, so the gradient in the little grey box, currently a minus 1.1%. The bar chart below will fill. It's 1 lap, and it's 35 kilometres long, and that will fill with a yellow bar. Right-hand side of your screen on all the way down, those are the riders who are lined up, and you can see the rider that we're watching highlighted in red if it's on that screen. As away we go. So, watching Anna Embring take to the start line, and away she goes. A very fast start, but you can see no matter what category our riders are in, they all want to be in there. I think Embring just getting that slightly wrong. She went very quick from the start, but look at this. It is already well spread out. Now, this is a downhill start, Emma. Much harder to get the start right. You've got to be absolutely hitting this flying.
Yeah, because the momentum off the start line as you're kicking with that power just before the banner goes really makes a difference here on this downhill start. These women are rolling out, and I've seen speeds touching over 50 kilometres an hour already. So such a fast start this first half a kilometre of this race today. And we can see here that initial kick off the start line isn't abating at the moment. We're in with Geraldo, who's currently looking at around 7 watts per kilo as she pushes through this group to try and make the selection and make it a really strong front group today.
Well, we can see a mix of first and second category riders in the lead. Left-hand side of your screen, right-hand side of your screen. We're watching Paula Ochoa in that third category. Going to have to push on here. And currently our last rider on the course at 0.7. So 200 meters from 0.7, 0.8 K for our last rider on the course. So the first riders on the course who are just hitting 1K. So 1K, 20% difference in terms of distance. But really interesting to watch these riders as it levels out now and goes into a climb. So the leading group, remember, first category riders in yellow, second category in green. Blue is our third category group. And as you can see from our split screens, we get to watch lots of action. And it means, just like the riders, it's a data-rich environment for us to look at, for you to watch, and of course for our riders to ride in. Now, Emma, you've ridden the start of one of these races. You know how tough this is to kick off from the start line, whether you're in first, second, or third category. And it is pretty brutal, isn't it? That start is key to get into a group.
It is indeed. You know, when you are riding these races, it really is about the start, and it really is about the selection at that start and timing your power output into your turbo to make sure that you get with the group that you want to be with. Because actually, if you miss that front group and you miss the draft, it's a really difficult and sometimes lonely race on MyWhoosh. A bit different, Matt, to a road race. If you're out on the road, often quite a slower start, a bit of a rolling start. Definitely not on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club. It is all from the start.
Do you know what it's like? It's like riding a junior road race or a fourth cat road race where everybody goes from the gun like a loon off from the start and then blows chunks later on, then recovers and goes again. It is very, very fast from the start, but it is key because you've got to get into that pack now. Really interesting to see such a mix of riders in this first group. And those second category riders, they will stay in with the leaders, I think, for a fair proportion of the racing, won't they, Emma?
Well, I'm going to say normally, because actually the power that this group is still putting out, as I'm watching them and talking, actually they've just started to sit up a bit, because I was quite surprised at 2 kilometres they were still pushing on that, and we were still seeing some really strong 4.5, 5 watts per kilo in that group, as though they were trying to stretch that group out at the beginning. But actually now it's backing off a little bit, and we're seeing some 3s and occasionally a 2 in there. So actually we're starting to see that group start to settle, and if that group settles, we will see the lead of that category 2 race stay in this group with those category 1 riders. It's only going to be when or if these category 1 riders decide to put the hammer down a little bit and break the group that we'll see the category 2 riders start to drop off.
And I think there's 31 riders in that group, 35 riders in that group in total. My estimation is 31 in there, but I'm prepared to be corrected in that. It's a lot of counting very, very quickly to see who's in now. Of our category 1 riders, I've not seen any major losses. I've seen a Faber, I think, just off the front there. Meanwhile, Fiona Schroeder a little bit further back. So looks like Schroeder just being distanced on that initial kick out from the line. But we know Fiona Schroeder will sit at a steady pace and she will continue to push and no doubt mop up riders if they are distanced on the way through there. So Schroeder at the moment continues to push. Meanwhile, our leaders through segment number 1 already. And a huge pack of riders together. It is showing us 32 riders going through together. And look at those times, Emma.
Yeah, so we are seeing a fastest time through that segment today of 1:38. But look at the mix in that group, Matt. All those riders in the top 12 going through that first segment within a second of each other, and a real mix of teams and a real mix of categories. We've got category 2 riders from Garoni to Oliveira, Para, the first 3 riders fastest through that segment. Then a category 1 rider from the Fusion squad, Anna Embring. Then we go back to a category 2 rider. So it is a real mixed group. We've got a real large group off of the start line, and they are hanging together and moving through that segment well.
Indeed, and you just see as we're scrolling through there, it looks like all the favourites in there. People like Van Heulen, Barda Sky are in there, Donny is in there, and I think the people we'd expect maybe to be in there, people like Fiona Schroeder and Stefania Sanchez, not making the cut here. I don't think they're going to get back, but I wouldn't discount it totally. It's about 35 seconds on the road at the moment between the race lead on the left of your screen and the chasers on the right-hand side of your screen. And interestingly, I think Carla Leon in the blue jersey there with Schroeder could well be our leading rider when it comes to category number 3 as well. I haven't seen anybody further up through the categories. The rest of the riders in front, I think, are first and second category riders. So going through that first split, very fast times going through 1:38, the leading time at the moment through that segment. But our race leaders all the way across the road. They're going to be getting some serious draft. The draft shows up. It's very easy to tell when somebody's getting a really good draft because the screen, top left-hand side of your screen, the watts will be in green rather than black. And it's about riding smart, conserving energy, but at the same time, you don't want to drag a big group into that finish because there could be a surprise rider who you don't know could take away not just, of course, the honour of the race win, but some serious prize money today.
Yeah, it's true. And And also, Matt, it's also about the team and the team race and the team tactics, because I'm expecting to see some team tactics today. I'm expecting potentially teams to sacrifice riders trying to break this group early on in this race, with then riders that we haven't seen poke their nose out of the group really come to the fore at the end of the race and actually put a real effort in on that final climb today to make the podium.
So I think lots are still to happen. We're at 4.5 now, 4.6k for our leaders on the left of your screen. Right-hand side, big group of riders in this Category 3 race as well here. Just in with Lynette, who's just pushing nice and smoothly. We've got Maria Jose Gallego in there as well. And all these sort of riders are continuing to push on, but you can see the number difference in terms of watts, and you can see the difference in terms of speed. They're on very similar gradients, both dropping fractionally downhill. However, the pace difference is about 15% higher in that front group. The watts difference is almost double.
Yeah, but there's something for everybody here, Matt, and I think that's really important, because we're seeing 3 different categories of racers spanning the different abilities of these women today. And that's the beauty of the Sunday Race Club. There is a race for everybody, and it's a really competitive race for everyone. And we can see that on the screens in front of us. Those Category 3 riders, there's 9 women in that front pack, and that is a competitive field today for this course. Likewise, we've got on the left-hand side of the screen a large group of Category 1 and Category 2 riders, and we're going to have as much competition in the Category 3 race today as we are in Category 1 and Category 2.
And I think that's really telling, isn't it? The volume of riders we have, it's great. There's competition all the way through. Just watching Erin Poulton on the right-hand side of your screen, racing in that Category 3 there, up and battling it against Geraldo. Looking at Category number 2, you've got Santiago and Golden Light fighting it out against each other. As we head into our next sector, they're going to get a good idea of who's around them. The riders, of course, will have multiple screens rolling, just like we do in the studio here at Full Speed Events, or part of the MyWhoosh broadcast. And of course, the data is key. Looking at where everybody else is, looking who you've got around you, how hard they're working, what their watts per kilo. You can jump in and make sure you're watching the right riders. A number of riders at the top end of the teams, of course, when we see our international competition on MyWhoosh, often we'll see riders with a team helper there who's actually monitoring the screens. Just like you to find your team manager shouting in your ear if you're riding along in a pro race. Exactly the same thing that you get on the road, you get on MyWhoosh as well. And that is really key, because information makes all the difference, being able to know when to use that energy.
It is, and the data on the screen that you're seeing in front of you today isn't just for the viewer, it's also for the rider, because being able to see where that group is, and if you're in that pack of 30 riders there in that lead today, you can't see everybody in terms of the information on the screen on that right-hand bottom segment. There you might be keeping an eye on the watts per kilo your competitors are out, who's in which position. You might spot, if you're really quick, who kicks hard when you see the watts per kilo change. You're also keeping an eye on your own stats. You know the range of your heart rate, you know the amount of power you can hold for how long you can hold it, and you'll be taking on board all of that information in the race to determine your own performance.
And certainly when I've been racing, I always like to get the group down to a number that I can see on the right-hand side of the screen. So I would be sitting in this group and I would want to get it down to about 8 to 10 riders. That means no matter where I am in the group, I can watch their watts per kilo. And if somebody's watts per kilo suddenly go flying up, I know they're going on a fly, they're going for an attack. Maybe before I've actually noticed where they are position-wise, particularly if you're on the front or the front 2 or 3 riders, you don't know what rider 8 or 10 is doing behind you, but you can watch the numbers on the right of the screen. If it flies up, you know somebody's coming at you quick. If you've got 25 riders, somebody can go from the back. The first you're going to know about it is they're 15 meters down the road and they've got the gap. That's not happening at the moment as we go through segment number 2. Once again, look at this Martinez Gironi, the fastest time through that split, not necessarily the first over the line there, but really interesting to see those team names in here, because it's a real mix. Now, the Fusion squad have got some strength in here. We've got the Spartan Obstacles with strength in here. The Whooshers getting riders up into this group as well, which is great to see. And, of course, Team RT Cycle Zone Ladies 1 and Tri Women. Loads of riders represented in this group in first and second categories. For me, though, big thing, lots of green. Lots of Category 2. Category 1 riders being smart. Let the Category 2 riders do the work and then put in that killer move later, maybe. What do you think, Emma?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So much slower segment than segment one. This segment is an uphill segment. So anticipating that at around 2 minutes and 6 seconds is the fastest time through there. But what I'm looking at and what I'm finding quite interesting here, Matt, is the heart rates, because some of the heart rates of our category 2 riders are a lot higher than the heart rates of our category 1 riders. And that tells me they're working much harder to stay in this group. And they're the ones who are going to really need to watch where they position themselves and how much draft they can take and what recovery they can get in this group while still staying with it.
Well, we're just starting to see category one starting to push up to the front, and maybe we'll see those heart rates start to lift. We are on a climb. We're at 7.3k on the course, and at 7.3k, I think that is going to be telling, because they are working pretty tough, and it's caused a little bit of a split in that group.
Yeah, the top of the first climb comes at 7.7 kilometres. So they are just on the brow of the hill at 7.5 kilometres travelled in this race. They will shortly just tip over the top. You can see there quite a flat top to the first climb today, and that's where the lead group are. Shortly, they will be going over the brow of the hill and dropping down the descent into what's quite a long rolling section before we get to the base of the final climb today.
And being in with the group is key, isn't it? As you go over the top, the energy it takes to push on over the top, just like if you're out and riding on the road, on a climb, which turns into a descent, is key, because if the gap goes over the top, the distance will increase, the gap will open, and you could be in some big trouble. Now, interesting to see these riders continuing to push and continuing to try and open up the gap. And strong girls with Madonna Degan Mashandi in here, backing up Faith Weber, Lisa Brommel, Stefania Sanchez, and Fiona Schroeder. Good to see him moving through the categories, and I think definitely a great addition to that strong girls team of 5 riders, and right up in the mix, right up in that leading group. Interesting to see her teammate Schroeder just a little bit further back in this group of second and third category riders. But of course, we've got riders at different stages of training programs. Personally, given the prize money, I'd be peaking for this race. That'd be my aim, to peak for this one and to be able to go and do the best I could in this race, because it's a prize money final. It's the big race. It's the one that counts.
But you can't be on form every single month of the year. If you were able to be on form for the final race for 12 months of the year, Matt, I think that would be a little bit strange. And you're quite right. We don't know whose off season this is, who's in this for rounding out the team, or even, who's ensuring a solid performance in case one of the team riders up the road has a mechanical or a problem. And we've seen that happen before.
We have indeed. And of course, remember, of course, team racing, it's about getting 3 riders over that line, and that's why it pays to have 4 or 5 riders. You can have mechanical, you can have an issue, and of course, our riders have to get those results verified. So that means dual recording, it means heart rates. If you want to know the details, then don't forget, of course, make sure you go onto the MyWhoosh.com website, go onto the events. All the details are on there about what, where, and when to get yourself on to the start line. So we're just hitting our next segment on the way through. So this is going to be the next segment number 3 of 7. Big group of riders still in the race lead. We are at 9.2 kilometers covered for our race leaders. The leaders in category number 3, well, they are at 7.5k. But of course, we have all of our leaders on the screen with 2 screens, because the first and second category leaders, well, they're all together still. I think the key thing here, I mean, our leaders in the race overall on the left of the screen, they're on a big downhill section. Now, I'm not the littlest person in the world, but what I would be looking for is to power on that downhill and put some of these climbers in trouble. Much harder to do, but if they've been working hard on that climb, they've been pushing. If you go hard on the downhill, quickly over the top, you've got a chance of separating it out. Just starting to see the gaps open. Faber and Bauer on the front here. Embring is trying to come across, as is Conan, but that momentum, putting that pressure on, has opened up the gaps, and I think they're going to get a little bit of a faster time in through this segment number 3. So let's have a look at those times.
Yeah, indeed. And as you can take a look there, you can see it is a little bit faster there for those riders who pushed her on that descent and made the benefit of that momentum. So Jojo Bauer from Las Colombianas going through with the quickest time on that 1K segment in terms of our fastest 1K segment of the day today. So 1 minute and 13, followed by Faber and Brogan, Sanchez, Embring, Kokkonen, and looking at that group following from third place down over a second back, in fact, nearly 2 seconds back by the time we get to the top 10 of Para and Antico.
And really interesting as well, we were at 31 riders. We're now at 25 riders in that leading group. And that says to me that the hill, the climb, the push over the top and the attack down the bottom has made a difference. 4 seconds now, the gap from Faye Faber and Jojo Bauer behind Jojo Bauer. Really, really strong rider. Now, Emma, you've been doing your research. You've been diving into the riders. Jojo Bauer, she's a strong rider. She's I think Jack Bauer's sister. Not that makes you particularly good, but Jack Bauer, of course, having a good pedigree as well in the pro peloton. And I think Jojo Bauer really showing that she means business here today and a rider to watch. But Faye Faber, I think, is on a good ride here. Faye, again, another rider who I think peaks just at the right time.
Yeah, we've got some really class women in this race today. So we're currently watching Faye Faber. Faber this year was 17th in the UK National Time Trial Championships. So she's obviously on form this summer. Bauer has serious history on the road in New Zealand in terms of national racing as well. And Van Heuling and Bjarnhead, don't forget, both rode the UCI World Esports Championships earlier on this year. And Van Heuling finished 5th. So some absolutely class women in this group today. And as we can see now, these category 1 riders of Faber and Bauer starting to push on. And the chase coming 5 seconds back now as those yellow jerseys start to close in. But we've still got a couple of our green jerseys in there on the back of this group.
So here on the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh, our race leaders now coming up towards 12 kilometres covered in total. And you can just see these riders continue to push the way down this straight. And certainly looks to me like we are going to see this race continue all the way into the base of the climb with a consistent push now. Chiara Donny just on her way down this straight at the moment. One of the riders who's sort of come onto the scene of late, but a rider who certainly seems very, very strong. Out and riding at the moment, and a regular, I think, if I'm not much mistaken, I think rides a Colnago in real life as well as out on the course here today. But she's going to have a work out. I think she's proved to be one of the strong riders, and I wouldn't discount her on this climb. She seems particularly strong on those long climb finishes.
No, I don't disagree with you at all, Matt. But I think what's really interesting here, for a moment there, I thought we were really starting to see a split in this group as our category 1 riders were pushing on the power, and it was pulling our category 2 riders back to the rear of that group. But actually, do you know what? They've sat up a little and dropped back into the early of 3 watts per kilo, a pace that the category 2 riders will feel quite comfortable at. When these category 1 riders start pushing at 4.5 watts per kilo for a more consistent time, these category 2 riders now are going to start to struggle. They're 20 minutes into this race, and the types of powers and heart rates that the category 2 riders can maintain for 20 minutes will be quite comfortable for the category 1 riders. The category 1 riders haven't yet really decided that this race has started.
And I think for me, we are seeing the category 1 taking it easy, realistically. Let's face it, but that just means you've got more for later. So I always think if we have a fast start to the race and it stays fast, it's not going to go quite as quick at the end because everyone's burned a lot of energy off. You can't just explode at the end if you've done a load of work. At the moment, though, the pace, we're on a 0.6% climb. Now, remember, it all hurts. There's no two ways about it. The quicker we go, the more it hurts, but it all hurts because going up at 0.3, 0.6%, it does make a difference. And as Emma was saying, the boundary between being comfy and uncomfy can be very slight, but it's enough between our category 2 and our category 1. So if the category 1 wants to start shedding riders, They could well be doing that at will. A little bit further back on the course, we've got our category 3s, but the front of the race is with the category 2 and 1 on the left of your screen, who are coming up towards the next segment arch. Interesting to see our category 3s, Poulton, Figueira, Giraldo, all still battling, but here we go. In through to the end of our next segment come the riders. Let's take a little bit of a look at that time. Take us through the results on there on segment 4, Emma.
Yeah, so segment 4 is our 4th out of 5 1-kilometre segments, and this is a rolling segment. So Para has gone through with the fastest time of 1 minute 47. And in fact, actually, no, she hasn't, because we've just had a rider further down the field who's obviously on the chase go through 7 seconds quicker. So Santiago there from Strong Women is on the chase through that segment, and you can look at the watts per kilo there. This is giving us some really interesting information about this race. So 4.9 watts per kilo average for Santiago, as I'm assuming she's chasing back on or is slightly getting dropped from that field. Para going through in that main group with the 147, and the rest of that group containing Gonzalo Rua, Embrink, Conan, Biarhead, Fua, Bauer, Donny, all of those riders going through very similar times, sat around between 3.5 and 3.9 watts per kilo. But Santiago really pushing on through that 1 kilometre segment and taking 7 seconds off that lead group. But look at that watts per kilo, really, really showing a strong push there for Santiago at 4.9.
Indeed, I think you're right there about that chase back on. We had gone from 31 riders down to 25. We were down at 21, 22. And Santiago came through as about the 24th rider down. That means she was chasing back into the group. Interesting, I think we've lost Golden Light out of that group. She came through down off the pace of the main group, and I think she is in trouble off the back of this group. So Golden Light losing ground. In fact, we're just jumping in with her here. She's lost 40 seconds, and interestingly, Ursula Bardovskaya is in this group as well. Now, Bardovskaya is a rider we know could be taking it on at the front of the race on the climb. Danny Moore is in this group. Hernandez in here as well. Angie Parra is up the road with the arrest, along with Fur, but 41 seconds. That's a long way. Even I can go a long way in 41 seconds under my own steam before anybody adds. You've got your foot on the pedal in the metal in the car. So as we move on, 14.7. Kate, we're approaching a third race distance, 25 minutes of racing going to be covered when we hit that 15k marker, and my maths is not great, but that will put us on for about a 1 hour 15 race. I don't think that's going to happen, because I suspect all of a sudden it's going to speed up a little bit. Let's see.
Yeah, so last time we covered this course was in qualifier 2, Matt, and that was a 101 for the win. So and if I remember rightly, it was a race quite similar to this. There was a large group for the start, and it whittled down and whittled down and whittled down. But actually, this is a large group in front of us today, and I'm waiting for the whittling to start.
It's whittled. It has whittled. I am an adept whittler. A whittler, for those of you for whom colloquial English terms are not your strong point. To whittle is to shape something out of a piece of wood. So if you take a stick and you carved a very nice bear out of it, you'll be whittling on it. You might make a walking stick or whatever, but that is called whittling. And it's chipping away little bits at a time. And it's a really apt sort of, visualization what this group is doing, because what we've seen 35, 40 in the first split, then down to 31, down to 25, down to 20. Every time we go through, somebody's taking that little knife, chipping off a little bit of wood, just shaping the group at the front until they get it to what they want it to be. Nobody is putting the carving in there. So very, very interesting to see just who is going to be the knife, who is going to be the splinter getting put onto the floor. I think there's going to be a big axe falling the moment we hit that climb. It's not just going to be whittling. This is going to be wholesale destruction when we hit there. Let's see who's going to be the person wielding the axe. I've got my bets on it being at least 3 riders. I think we're going to see Bauer, we're going to see Donny in there, and Van Heuling. They're my top 3 riders today. I'm going to put myself straight off that fence. I don't want any splinters. I want to get right down to the action, but we've got a long way to go. Now, into our next segment. This is the start of our next segment here. And if my memory serves me correctly, because Emma is, of course, the woman with all the stats. This is segment number 5, if my memory serves me right.
It is indeed. So segment number 5 covers between 16 and 17k. So our final 1 kilometre segment is a rolling segment, and this is a very large group rolling through it. So we can see there from the screen in front of us, the course map is up. We are on those rolling lands between the 2 climbs on the screen today. This segment will take us into the latter part of the course, and then we have 2 5-kilometre segments to go. Segment number 6 coming just shy of 20 kilometres, and segment number 7 starting just before the base of that final climb and finishing 1.2k before the finish line.
Well, they will give us a real good snapshot of those riders and the pace they're going. This pack is still a big one, and I'm not sure what is going to break this up. Remember, if you saw the profile, as we just did, big climb, second category climb, then it gets easier. Then it gets rolling. So it rolls nice and steady. That rolling is really important because it should break the group up. Not happening very much. We are losing a little bit by a little bit, rider after rider. But I think the fight is going to be really intense in there. There's going to be some riders that are absolutely hanging on for grim death to stay in this group, hoping it's not going to go quicker. Not the place you want to be. You want to be one of those riders who are sitting in there waiting to spring. And I think that's one of the things when you're a first category rider, you are just having to get this right. It is yours to lose, isn't it, Emma?
It is, and I'm looking in here at this category 1 and category 2 group of looking at the heart rates, and some of those heart rates of the category 1 riders are sat really, really comfortably. They're sat at around 150, 155. It's a really easy riding for them as they come through the end of segment number 5. So as they come through the end of segment number 5, we are seeing the times for that segment come up on our screen. So we are seeing the fastest time set today at 1 minute and 44 seconds through that segment by Gemma Brogan of the Spartan Obstacles, followed by Strong Girls Try Women, another Strong Girls rider. I'm looking at the teams here because this is getting interesting. Spartan Obstacles have got another rider up there as well. And we are seeing that large group travelling right the way down past 12th place, all within half a second of each other. This is a group that are really tight and are moving together really closely. But looking at those watts per kilo, Matt, and those heart rates, Brogan's heart rate is at 134. This is really easy riding for her. Likewise, Faye Faber, 144. Embring 143. Some of these category 1 riders are having a Sunday stroll.
Oh, I wish I could do a Sunday stroll at the pace these guys are moving at the moment, 35 kph. But I think you're dead right about that heart rate. It is low, but of course we do have variations between our riders as well, dependent on how they are working, dependent on where they are and how well they are as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see. So let's see what happens to the riders as they continue onwards. Brogan taking that segment number 5. Now let's have a little bit of a look in that group, and just been watching the numbers, Emma. We've gone down. We're in fact at 24 riders now in that group. And Faber at the front, just stretching her legs, but 24 riders, so another little bit chipped off the peloton, chipped off that bunch.
Yeah, but we are just over half race distance now, Matt, and I'd be sat in that group thinking there's a few too many in here for me at the moment.
I don't disagree with you at all, and I think it really needs some serious action by the riders to break this down. They're taking a gamble. They're gambling that they're not going to get a rider in there that they don't know, and that is always a big gamble. You could find somebody in there, springs a surprise. Okay, everybody's done the qualifying. They've got 2 verified rides come through, but they maybe just played it easy, just ticked along nicely, didn't worry about the prize money and the standard races in our qualifiers, but then came out of nowhere and put in a big ride. And I think for me, that is going to be key. So let's see who is going to do that now. Faye Faber just moves up on to the front. Anna Embring around in attendance again. And Anna Embring, another rider who we are seeing repeatedly, keeping an eye on what is going on the front of that race. And a rider who maybe this could be the day where we see her go right up to the top of the standings, because Anna and correct me if I'm wrong here, Emma, I think she's regularly been top 10, but I don't think she's got a top 5 performance yet. And I say yet.
Yeah, I think the word is yet there because, Embring is part and parcel of that Fusion squad. Fusion squad have got Biarhead, Bardeskaya, and Donny as well as Embring. It's a strong group. And actually, if they play the right team game and they look after each other in here, I think they're going to be a really, really competitive in the team, not just in the individual category.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen Biarhead, Bardeskaya, Donny, and Embring racing individually, but now coming together as that Fusion team. Great to see these teams continue to form. And of course, the teams looking for prize money. Top 5 riders individually in each category, plus of course those team prizes coming out as well, because this is the August finale here on MyWhoosh. Our leading group slowly getting chipped way down. That's just over 20 riders behind our group. They are in 1s and 2s. They're in individual riders. There are groups of 3s and 4s, but the pace is enough to shed riders one by one. We're at 20k, which means with 15k to go. Things are going to be very, very interesting as we hit the top of the climb. Let's see who is going to lead this out. Let's see who will take victory here on the Sunday Race Club. But whilst we watch our leaders in category 1 and 2 on the left of our screen, right hand side of the screen, you can see our 3rd category riders continuing to push here. And again, a real battle in this 3rd category. In the 3rd category riders, I'm loving the fact that pretty much all but one rider, they're in teams. And this is going to really change how it works. And it's always better when you're racing as a team, isn't it, Em?
Yeah, it is indeed, because you've got that collaboration and that collectiveness to help you. And it's highly likely, Matt, that these teams are on Discord. So they're talking to each other. They can hear each other. They can talk to each other. They can discuss tactics whilst they're racing. And if they're up the road or feeling good, they can let their teammates know about this. Or even if they're having a bad day, they can let their teammates know about it. And then team tactics can change. And actually, they can cope with that on the road, and they can support each other whilst they're racing.
So watching the screen at the moment, in with Geraldo, got Poulton in there, Cabrera, Leona in the group, Hebrio in, just looking down here, really is a who's who, and it's a big group of riders in this category 3 competition. And again, remember, prize money all the way down. I think it's the equivalent in terms of sterling of about £225 for the individual rider in 5th place in category 3. So prize money all the way down, not to be seen. I've raced for far less, believe me, in my time.
And from a category 3 perspective, Matt, Jose Zabala, who won the July final, is not on the start line today.
Oh, interesting. So we're going to have a new winner in category 3 from last time. And of course, don't forget, prize money on MyWhoosh got to be verified. It's all about making sure that we've got fair, we've got transparent racing. Everybody knows what they have to do. The categories are defined. Once we get the categories that come in from those riders, people are going to know who they're racing against. And of course, all of our riders getting feedback from the team at MyWhoosh, who are checking all of the riders all the way through. It's a big scene behind the back of the program, making sure that the racing's fair, that it's transparent, and that our riders are playing by the rules, and which is great to see. It's not just jump on, click a button. No, you can go race anything you want and put in any weight you want. And I could weigh 45 kilos, which is probably the same as both legs, and not the top half of my body. It is very simple. You've got to do this right, and it is worth checking it out on the way through.
Yeah, it is indeed. And, making sure things are fair and transparent and that racing is verified is really important. That does mean, Matt, if you are interested in joining the Sunday Race Club, there are some documents and information that is really good for you to read first. Understand the rules, understand the requirements, and understand the setup, because there are timelines that you need to hit in terms of submitting information for verification. So all of that is on the mywhoosh.com website. You can go on there not just to download the app and sign up to an event and ride, but you can also go on there to register for an event, read the technical guide, the rule set, and the requirements, as well as the frequently asked questions if you are interested in riding and racing. Because for racing, it is really important you understand the rules and that you submit the information for verification.
Certainly is very, very important. And you got to remember, it is all about that prize money. Remember, if you take the win in category 1 here, this way you've got to get it right. It is 10,000 AED. Now, that is a substantial amount of money. Put it into your currency converter right the way down to 1,280 AED, which is £225 sterling last time I checked. Definitely not to be sneezed at, and that is for our fifth place Category 3 rider. But all of these riders racing for proper prize money, and that's what the sport needs. We are, looking at this, and you see the riders, you see the performance, you see the power they're putting out, you look at the performances of the riders, and you do the research like we've done, you know just how class our riders are in all categories, because they're all putting in the effort. But top flight category riders, proper prize money, proper professional scene, that is great to see.
Yeah, and the value of esports is that you can do it from your own home. Wherever you are located, you can log on, jump on your bike, and take part in an esports race. You don't have to travel, and actually, this is competitive racing, which can be done at home on an app that is free to ride. What more would you want?
Better legs, better lungs, be able to ride with these riders in any category at the pace they're going. That would do me quite happily. But in all seriousness, I gotta say, it is a great platform. I love riding on it, love racing on it. May even get me to sign up to an official training program on it. Yeah, but don't put your money on that one. And enjoy the racing on it and riding against people far too much, and particularly the New World. Make sure you go onto the site, download it, and go ride in the new Australia World, including, of course, some great climbs. It's in the home of the World Championships in Wollongong, and it is going to be great to see just how faithfully recreated it is on MyWhoosh, as well as in real life when we watch the road champs there.
Well, Matt, whilst we are in with this front group and we're watching Faye Faber ticking along and taking it quite steady in this large group at the front, there are indeed 720 or more than 720 training workouts on MyWhoosh. So if you did want to get those legs strong and you did want to be able to compete the likes of the races and riders that we've seen today, there's plenty on there, whether you are looking to improve your endurance, your hill climbing, or your sprinting. Log on, find a workout. They're there for you along with the training plans.
I think somebody's telling me I need to get a bit fitter and a bit faster if I want to be able to compete here one way or another. Now, interesting, the riders here, lots of people saying the training program is a great way to get faster and quicker. But of course, I'm old school, like to race my way in, and some great racing on MyWhoosh. Don't forget, of course, we've got Tune Up Tuesdays, new zones in Oceania, so in the Australia regions, as well as in the Gulf State times. GST, or if you're in the Australian time zones, doesn't matter. You've got Tune Up Tuesdays on there as well. There's some great rides as well, where you can go get a more steady state workout, depending on whether you're wanting pace or speed or power.
You can. In fact, there are 9 different bunch rides to choose from, Matt, that go out every 30 minutes, and the pace of those rides varies from 25 kilometers per hour to 40 kilometers per hour. So there's loads to pick and loads to choose from when you download the MyWhoosh app and you jump on your bike to ride. So we're back in, Matt, with this front group on the left-hand side of the screen, and we are currently in with our Category 2 rider, Antico, who I'm expecting to see some action from as we come to this climb today and to feature in the top 5 of that Category 2 race. This group still contains a strong mix of Category 1 and Category 2 riders, as we're coming up for 24.3 kilometres travelled in a 35-kilometre race. The pace of this group is still steady. It's still a large group, and we're still seeing no real action and no real effort to try and break this. We're seeing occasional riders drop off the back of this group as maintaining the pace stays strong and becomes too much for them. But we are not seeing some real action off the front yet.
So watching our riders go in through segment 6 here, and both Emma and I, I've been training to jump in that fast, you see, that's what it is. So Team Fitness, Tens, Leslie and Condera leading through 8 minutes 52.286 on the way through. I can almost guess what Emma's going to say here as we come through that group. It's going to be look at the watts per kilo and look at the heart rates. Heart rates are okay, watts per kilo low, all in the 3s. correct?
Well, I think it is absolutely evident from what we're seeing in front of us that this group are waiting for the final climb. They're waiting for that category 2 climb and the last 6 kilometres of this race. And this is going to be a 6 kilometre race today, even though it's a 35 kilometre race distance.
That's going to feel very harsh if you are a rider a bit further back down through that race field, but battling to stay
Okay.
with them at that point. Maybe for the front of the race, which is what we do, I must admit, tend to focus on. That's where the prize money is. Come on, let's face it, that is key. And it's always inspiration. I always love watching, I watch pro racing a lot. Okay, it is my job, but also it is pretty key so that it is inspiring. And I've got to admit, generally after the end of a MyWhoosh set of races, I actually just want to go out and race. I want to go ride. Nice to see the horse running alongside there, just like Tour de France coverage earlier on. It makes me want to jump on the bike and go out there and ride and race. And I'm hoping that's exactly what it's doing for you. Watching the race and thinking, I can do this. Doesn't matter where I am in the world. I can jump down on my turbo train and go out and ride and do this, go out and race. And that is a key, making sure we're inspiring people to jump on. And you don't do that by watching people who aren't good. You do that by watching people who are amazing, whether that's watching somebody like Danny McCaskill for his trial skills, or whether you're watching our riders here on MyWhoosh for the speed, the power, the pace that they're going to go at that final climb. I am expecting this to be very, very quick indeed up this climb once they hit it, but it's a little way to go yet, isn't it, Emma?
There is. So we are currently at 25.7 kilometres travelled in this 35-kilometre race, with 23 riders in this front group of this women's race today. So the top 5 women in the category 1 and the top 5 women in the category 2 are going to come from this group today, Matt, as we move into the latter stages of this race. So we have one final segment to go, segment number 7, 28.8 kilometres it will start at, and it will finish 1.2 kilometres before the finish line of this race. Mostly it will take in this final climb that you can see on the screen in front. It's a stepped climb, and we've seen real kicking elements of it going up 10, 11, 12% with an average gradient of 8.2. It's a little bit deceptive, that, because it really does kick, it flattens, and in some areas there's descent as well, and riders really looking at the technical use of racing on MyWhoosh to look at how to use momentum and where to kick on a climb that has flats and descents to get that momentum to really push their speed on the next steep segment.
So in with Catherine Fur, left-hand side of your screen, just coming onto our main screen here, 26.4K, 44 minutes of racing complete. Just starting to see a little bit of a squeeze, I think, on that group as we start to push on. Remember, this is going to be for not just those individual prizes, but also for the team prize. The team prize, if you're a team of 5 riders, you're sharing 50,000 AED between 5 riders. If it's only 3 of you in that team, that's even better still, but that's a big gamble because, of course, you only need 1 rider to fall out of that team to have a problem on the way through, and you're not going to be right up there. So Fua on the left-hand side of your screen, leading the category 1, just moving away around that bunch now. Faber in there, Donny in there now, watching a little bit further back. Myra Madeira just continuing to push in that group. Fiona Schroeder at the moment in about 34th position, a little bit further down that race field. They're at 23K, but 27.1 covered for our race leaders. And Catherine Fur just continuing to push on here. And now for me, it's about who we haven't seen on the front as much as who we have seen in group number 1, because this is where it's about who saved their energy. Haven't seen much of Jojo Bauer, haven't seen much of Van Heulen, haven't seen all that much of Quevedo, and Karut Quevedo could spring the surprise here. Do you know, as I go through them, I think anyone can win this as they go.
Well,
as I'm looking at those names at the moment.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Matt, and I was just actually watching and looking for Garoni, who our category 2 rider, who put in an outstanding climb on this final climb last time round on this course. You know, last time round on this course, let's not forget, our category 2 riders had some outstanding performances. So we had Garoni, Antico, Conan and Corrado, you know, all putting in some outstanding rides, and Olivero as well. Now, I've been spotting those riders in this group. They are in here, and I think this front category 2 race is just going to be as outstanding as the category 1.
I think it is, and I think it's going to be very, very telling as we go in. Just running in with Vasiliki Gunari at the moment, just behind Angie Apara with Golden Light in there. And you can just see these riders, the chasing the group. This is the group that are in currently positions 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28th place on our course at the moment. They have got individuals in front because that leading the group has whittled its way down. It's that term again, to about 20 riders. It has been thinned out, but we're going to see who is going to take it on. The time is running out for anybody who is not feeling good at climbing to put in any kind of room. And one of the things that we don't see so much is people putting in an attack to get some sliding room back. It is something that we saw back in March on some of the finishes where we had the Jebel Hafit climb, the big climb at the finish, which is an 11K climb to the finish of the race. But there we were seeing riders going on the offensive early on to give themselves some sliding room on the way through the bunch. Not seeing that here today. And I think it's because we've got a 6K climb. And most people think that's a good length to put in a really hard race effort.
Yeah, and it might be, Matt, but also what's really interesting is we're not seeing anybody here thinking that this group is too big. People are pretty confident, I think, in how they're feeling today, because with nearly 20 odd riders in this front group and a large number of Category 1 and Category 2 riders, there's not a lot of slipping room anywhere. People are thinking that they're really strong themselves and they're happy to take those other riders in, because at 28.6 kilometres, they are nearly at the base of this final climb.
So, who is going to go on the attack first? Watch these riders as they go into the climb. You're going to start to see the pace pick up as riders want to be on the front. We take the left-hand turn here. We've hit the start of the segment. We're on the climb, and this is the critical moment. Watch the riders on the front. Watch the riders who start to squeeze on the pressure. We're instantly starting to see 3 watts per kilo, 4 watts per kilo start to become more normal as we start to make our way in now. The climb will kick as we come up around these turns. And will we see what has been the general pattern of the Category 1 riders starting to accelerate away? Now, Chiara Donny has clearly been listening. She's gone at 4.5 watts per kilo, now at 6.6. She's put in that first tank. Thank you very much. But one there by Mr. Payne. As he goes up on to the climb, Chiara Donny, she is our leading rider behind Marlene Bjarhead is chasing. Jojo Bauer and Van Heuling on the way as well. It really has suddenly become a who's who, but look at this. Nobody wants to let these gaps go. Nobody wants to let anybody go clear, but the Category 1 riders are starting to stretch this out. 3.8%. And look at the scramble for the wheels on the front there now, Emma.
Yeah, and if you were at the back of that group, you were caught napping a little bit there. You'd have thought they'd have expected it the second we hit the gradients going upwards. But Donny came over the top really quickly and pushed on, and Van Heuling and Bauer and Bjarnhead Brogan have all responded now, and we've got this group here. We can see 5 riders with a very small time gap of 3 seconds back, and look at this group now start to split across the road. We are really starting to see a bit of a split here with that smaller group of Category 1 riders going up the road, and if those other Category 1 riders in that group don't push on now, that race is going to have gone clear of them.
It is, and I just watched Jenny Tan come backwards as she tries to go with leading groups. The legs have clearly said no. Quickly out and dropping backwards, but look at Donny at the moment. So it's Chiara Donny, Marlene Bjarhead, Elizabeth Van Heuling, Jojo Bauer, Gemma Brogan, Mandana Degan, Mashandi, Catherine Fua immediately behind. And they are smashed across the road. Well, we were talking about whittling things down at the moment. I think somebody threw a hand grenade into the bunch there, and there's blown splinters all over the road because nobody now is in a serious sized group in the chase behind. They're in 1s and 2s. They reform. It breaks again. And as this gradient varies, it's going to play into the hands of the strong climbers. So Donny leading this race out behind. The chase is on. 4 riders in touch. Van Heuling in there, Bjarhead, Bauer and Brogan, the nearest riders to our race leader. And again, that gradient goes up. It increases to 7%. And once again, you're starting to see the gaps reopen. Donny joined by Van Heuling, who goes straight over the top.
Yeah, and this small group now of really class riders at the front of this race. And what I'm interested in, Matt, is this race behind, because I am amazed some of these Category 2 riders, or this number of Category 2 riders, are still in with that chasing group.
They are indeed, but it is starting to spread out. And you can see top right hand side of your screen where our gradient is in the red. Our leaders are clear, and then there is a gap, and then a big group of riders. They've reformed because it's a flat and downhill section. It's going to spread as the ability levels break. But the very front of the race on the left hand side of your screen at 13.5%, over 13.5%, now 14% gradient. This is going to be absolutely steep. Remember, the riders have to have their turbo train set at a certain percentage so that they are suffering on the way up that climb.
Yeah, so let's remember that. So got to have it as a minimum of 50%, Matt, so that we can really notice the gradients, and it's not about power versus gradients. You can really feel it in your machine when the gradients change. The slip between 5% and 11% is massive, and the riders are really feeling this. And as we can see now, Van Heuling and Donny are looking to be really, really strong as they're just coming up the brow of this little false flat.
They are indeed, and you can just see Van Heuling here just holding the wheel of Donny as Donny goes over the top. I think, no, not quite that time. Yeah, here we are. So Donny goes over the top, just holding the front of this race at 30.8k. Remember, we have a 35k race. Behind third place, it is Marlene Bjarhed. Bjarhed at the moment giving away 7 seconds to our race leader, but she has 10 seconds nearly to the chasers behind. But that will yo-yo as this climb gradient varies. So it is 2 leaders at the front. Elizabeth Van Heuling, who is leading the race out for the Spartan obstacles. On her wheel with her, Chiara Donny riding for the new Fusion squad. Are they going to take victory in their first race as a team together? That's going to be an incentive. Marlene Bjarhed for the Fusion squad sits in second place. Are they going to take away the team prize here? Remember, they had Embring not all that far off the pace either, but Spartan Obstacles, they've got Van Heuling in there, they've got Fua in there, and they've got Cavedo and Brogan not all that far behind. Could be that they're going to salvage that team prize. Bauer working well here. Joe Bauer for the Les Colombiana squad. She's going to want some of that individual prize money because I don't think she's going to be in with a chance of the team money on the way through.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the racing today, isn't it? So we are seeing these 2 riders, Van Heuling and Donny, both of whom are really strong up this climb. We've seen them podium before on this climb, on this course, and Van Heuling there really pushing strongly as they comes up on the shoulder of Donny. We can see just in the background there, Bjarnhead and Bauer 22 seconds back now to Bauer from Bjarnhead. It's these gaps are opening up, and Brogan is even further back down the road now.
But Brogan is going to be looking for that team prize on the way through. It's going to be really interesting to see where that lands. And not too far away, Martina Gironi, the rider who you were talking about, putting in a great ride on here last time, is doing the business. She's leading that second category. We're in with her on the right-hand screen here. So Gironi has got a gap on Silvia Laria Oliviero and Maria Santiago. Those are the riders 1, 2, 3 in category 2 at the moment. And Martina Gironi really is starting to push on. The tri-woman rider has got a squeeze on, but she's got company as well. The thing is, it's a teammate who's with her. So
Yeah.
2 riders, same team, leading this race out. And that is very, very telling. But will she be able to take away the team prize as well as an individual prize? Now 3, 4 riders together. I think that second category race is going to be a real battle. Meanwhile, front of the race, Van Heuling and Donny continue to lead. So Chiara Donny and Elizabeth Van Heuling are 2 race leaders here on MyWhoosh. 32.1k. Not going to be far before we come in and through our next segment finish, I think, and then we'll be on that run in to the finish.
We've still got about 1.5 kilometres to go of this 5-kilometre segment, which is section 7 of our race today. And Van Heuling and Donny are pushing on in lead of this group. They are being chased by a number of riders. So Jojo Bauer here is chasing, currently lying in 4th position, around 200 metres behind our leading 2.
So great to see the action here as the sort of riders continue to push. Bauer currently sits in fourth position, really putting out watts per kilo there. Just seen a 7.1 on that rise. And if you look at the gradients around, this road really is a roller coaster. The power that you need to get up the climb, the dips, the climbs, and that continues in the tunnels. The tunnels are not a consistent gradient. And Donny puts the dig in, answered by Van Heuling. They're at 32.5k. They're 100 meters up the road, basically around this left-hand bend from Jojo Bauer, who's on the right-hand side of your screen.
Yeah, but whilst you've been talking there, Matt Bauer has caught Biarhead, and we've now got a race on for third and fourth place with Bauer and Biarhead shoulder to shoulder as Bauer looks as though she's pushing on through this corner and around this bend.
She is indeed, and it's 16 seconds to about 18 seconds, dependent on those time splits. She's on a 12.5, nearly 13% climb here. You can see the riders in front. They can just about make out behind on our screens in the studio. You can see the two chasers chasing the leaders. Donny and Van Heuling are in front of these two. This is Jojo Bauer and Marlene Biarhead. They're tight together as they come up onto the top, but Donny is going to lead them over the top of the climb. She's got a fractional gap to Van Heuling, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make a difference at this stage. And here comes Van Heuling carrying that momentum through.
Yeah, and it's about that momentum on these false flats and these slight dips, Matt, before the gradient kicks up again, and how the riders are using their technique on this course to their benefit. And as we can see now, we've got 200 metres between the front two and the race for third and fourth place as we see Bauer come through under the MyWhoosh banner with Biarhead literally just behind her.
So here we go. We've got Biarhead and Bauer chasing Donny and Van Heuling. Donny leading this race once again, but not necessarily for long in the tunnels. Bauer, though, look at the power of Bauer to come across and dropping riders all over the road here. You can see that gap has gone to Biarhead. I think Marlene Biarhead, the power went, the legs went, and she was deposited backwards. But the two at the front are now going to have to watch out for Bauer because Bauer is on a charge here. And I think Bauer's time up through this segment is going to be a good one as she makes her way over the top here.
I think Bauer has just decided where her threshold is and the fact that she's probably 1 beat per minute off of it. And she's time trialing her effort up this climb, anticipating that Van Heuling and Donny are racing each other rather than trying to get to the climb as fast as they can.
Indeed, now we can see Donny and Van Heuling. Well, Elizabeth Van Heuling's avatar is looking over his shoulder, and I'm sure they are looking back at that time gap. It's down to 12 seconds. We're at 33.6k. And they've got to be careful here because they won't want to use too much energy too soon. They won't want to drag the other rider to the top of the climb. Bauer, though, has one mission: close that gap down, close that gap down, close that gap down. Nothing else. All she's got to do, she's got to charge. Meanwhile, Van Heuling's interesting tactics there, just easing off a touch there as they came over the top.
Yeah, so Van Heuling with 1.3 kilometres to go to the finish is just taking a small piece of rest as we see her chasing Donny coming underneath that end of that 5k banner as they turn the corner and the gradient goes up again.
So we are coming through to the end of the segment. You see our two leaders coming through. What can you pull from those stats, Emma, as we see our third place rider coming into that same segment? Not much to choose between them, but a big difference in heart rate.
Yeah, there is a big difference in heart rate, but also you can see all of a sudden the watts in this race have gone up. We've now starting to see some real push and some power on those pedals. So this 5 kilometre segment, a climbing segment, we're seeing Donny go through in the fastest time of 11 minutes and 16 seconds, closely followed by Van Heuling. The chasers are chasers. They are not closing the gap as Bauer and Biarhead currently in third and fourth place on the road. Here in third and fourth place in terms of the time it takes to cover that 5 kilometre segment.
So as we move in to our last kilometre here on the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh with me, Matt Payne, and Emma Martin. Chiara Donny, our race leader, has a gap back to Van Heuling. Then it's Bauer, followed by Biarhead. Then the leader of our second category race, Martina Gironi, on the charge as well. But Chiara Donny is making this look easy at the moment. Can she take this away? There is a 7-second gap, which could be brought down very quickly by Van Heuling if she gets the charge right on the climb. She can see Donny in front of her. Donny on the left of your screens. Van Heuling on the right-hand side. Now the gradient starts to kick again. We're at 500 meters to go for our race leader, just under 500 meters now as Donny comes in towards the tunnels, but Van Heuling is putting the pressure on. She's at 5.6 watts per kilo. Did Donny go too soon? Has Van Heuling got anything left in the tank? Can she answer Donny? Donny is going to be trying to take the win for the Fusion squad, for a new race team. Can she do it? Is Van Heuling going to come through to take the win for Spartan Obstacles? It's going to come down to these last 250 meters. We're into that descent out of the tunnel. Down comes Donny, and you can just see she's picking up speed. Van Heuling is chasing behind in second place. Can Van Heuling bring the gap? It's at 6 seconds. It's come down by a second. It's at 5. Van Heuling is coming behind her. Donny has to get this right. She's got into the super tuck there to try and maximize the pace. The gantry comes. It's a win for the new Fusion team for Chiara Donny. Second place for Van Heuling as she comes in and through the line. Our third place rider will be Jojo Bauer, who should be on her way in towards that line at the moment. Here she comes. So Bauer is chasing. Donny taking the win. Van Heuling taking second place. And Jojo Bauer into this final climb, into the drop, and then onto the steep section. Bauer unable to close down our two leaders. She did enough to stay clear, I think, of Marlene Bjarhead, who is coming behind, but it is going to be Jojo Bauer there. You're 1, 2, 3. But Bjarhead has not given up, Emma.
No, she hasn't. Bjarhead is still pushing as she goes up this final rise and comes across the finish line in fourth. Wow. What an amazing firecracker of a race for these last 4 women on this course in terms of what was left of this large group of riders coming into the bottom of the climb, with Donny taking the win from Van Heuling and Bauer and Bjarhead in third and fourth.
So great racing already. Don't forget, of course, we have a real fight behind as well. We saw a huge pack of second category riders on the way in. We also have the battle for positions. The Fusion squad have finished 2 riders here today in the top 4 with Donny and Bjarhead. We've got Spartan Obstacles and a Las Colombianas rider in there in the shapes of Van Heuling and Bauer. Then we've got Karub Quevedo. Quevedo, of course, in and riding for the Spartan Obstacles. That will give 2 Spartan Obstacles in and through the line when she gets there. But I think Martina Gironi is going to be our next rider to the line. She has shown time and time again she climbs on this hill so well. And Emma, gotta say, she's looking good at the moment. Look at the cadence as she goes through there. She's really kicking it over the top to get that momentum.
She is indeed, and she's got 200 meters till the finish line. She's going to drop down the descent, round the corner, and then up that steep climb and see the finish line in front of her as she pushes on, and Quevedo is trying to catch her, and I don't think she's just pipped on the line by Quevedo.
Well, Quevedo goes through. She takes 5th place for the Spartan Obstacles, but 6th place overall. And first category 2 rider, it is going to be Martina Gironi. Then it's going to be Maria Santiago. Santiago comes through. She's going to take 2nd place. And then it's going to be Morgan Olsen who comes in through. So it certainly looks to me like that battle continued all the way up. So it's going to be Santiago taking 2nd place in category 2. Then it's going to be Olsen, followed by Olivia. And then it's going to be Condera. They're coming faster than I could talk, Emma, and that's ongoing.
They are. It's been an outstanding race today in that Category 2 race. They've ridden up that climb fast and furious with not a lot of gaps between them. And actually they've had some company there with some really class Category 1 riders as well. Quevedo literally just pipping Garioni on the line.
And we're just getting confirmation. It looks like it is the Spartan Obstacles who have taken that team prize in Category 1. Van Heuling, Quevedo and Gemma Brogan coming across the line in 11th place. The Fusion squad should take second place in there with Donny, Bjarhead, and Embring coming through. So as well as taking the win with Chiara Donny, they've also got second place in the team prize. Great payday at the office for the guys there from the Fusion squad and from Spartan Obstacles as well. Don't forget, of course, our second category riders racing for the team prize as well. And this is really wide open too, because we've got riders coming through from Tri Women from the Team RT Cycle Zone. They certainly at the moment, Team Fitness 10 right up there as well. This could go to pretty much any of the riders here today. Our category 3 riders, well, it looks like Jackie Giuliano. Our camera's picking up Giuliano in 31st spot. This could be that she is our first rider in category number 3. We just seen a little scroll on the right hand side there. She's on to the climb as well, so that is looking like that could be the top of our category 3 competition, but she's on the early slopes, 31.3k. She's got a gap behind to Hebrio, Leonard, Geraldo, and Cabana, so it looks to me like she could be the rider who's going to take this cabinet. Just chasing with Hebro at the moment, but Juliana is the rider who is up in the lead, the American rider currently leading out category number 3. So that gap between her and the chasers, 1 minute and 55, I think it is, if I'm correct in my timings. No, sorry, 1 minute between the rider in the lead. It's going to vary a little bit depending on screw, but yeah, sitting around about just over 1 minute between first, second, and third places. So a fantastic battle here today, Emma, and we've still got lots of people to finish. Don't forget, of course, if you want to catch up with the results, make sure you go on to the MyWhoosh website. Don't forget, of course, to follow the social media on there as well. And we're going to watch all of these riders come in. Remember, all of these results are provisional. They are live at the moment. They will turn to the unofficial results and then will be official when they've all been checked and verified and all of our riders' performances have been officially stamped as being correct. So some great riding here today, and great to watch these riders come in over the line.
It is indeed fantastic to watch these riders come in over the line today, as we are in with Jenny Tan and she is coming round that corner in the tunnel. So don't forget to check out all the action on the MyWhoosh.com website, where you can follow all the final results from the racing today once they have been verified and finalised. So also you can check out MyWhoosh on social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, as well as Facebook, and you can follow the action there as well. So today's the final 3 riders in the Category 1 race, Donny, Van Heuling and Bauer. Category 2 race, Gironi, Santiago and Olsen. Some fantastic riding today. So you can find me, if you want to, on social media at Biking Emma. Where can we find you, Matt?
It's at Matt Fixer Pain and at Full Speed Events on Strava, on MyWhoosh, and of course on the wonderful platforms of Facebook, etc.
So, and you can, of course, always go to the MyWhoosh.com website. So thank you very much for joining us today for the August final on the Sunday Race Club. We'll see you next week.